Welcome to the middle of nowhere. Like my channel name just so I could invite you all here to my domain, which is absolutely nowhere in particular. But I really liked it, so I went with it. Welcome to the channel. This will be your first official welcome, first introductory video, I guess. See how I do recording. I had a lot of people tell me that they wanted me to create a channel, so I did that. They never said I had to actually make a video. So we'll just consider this bonus content. But who am I? That's the question I ask myself every day. I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure all my friends and family will ask the same thing of who is this crazy person? But I am Jordan. And the reason I did choose the name The Middle of Nowhere is because I grew up out in the country, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. People would always ask, like, who goes to this high school? And it's like, well, I do, as they drove by it, because it's literally out in the middle of a field. There's no homes near it or anything like that. That's who I am. I've always been an avid reader, ever since I was little. My parents introduced me to reading because I grew up in the middle of nowhere, once again. I didn't have a lot of TV or similar activities to kind of do, so I picked up books as well as basketball, but that's besides the point. And ever since I was little, my parents read to me. I read all the books you could think of, started reading Boxcar Children and just Hardy Boys, and kept going from there, and I've become an avid reader. Because of that, I would always get asked, like, well, what should I read? I want to read more books, like, by friends or some random people. And I always loved seeing the joy and the excitement when they'd read a book I recommended and they fell in love with it as much as I did. And that kind of got me into, like, well, I can write a review. I want to see what I can do. And here I am today. So I listened to all of you who have clamored for me to create this and giving it a shot. I'm kind of doing a different take on the Booktube Newb video because I like to kind of do my own thing, I guess. So I'm answering a few of the questions. But one of the things that seems to be really popular is, like, what can I bring or what do I plan for the channel? And I can bring the most monotone voice you'll ever hear. In my head, I might be super excited, have lots of things that I want to talk about, like try to share and reflect, and I'm super excited, bouncing off all of the walls. But you just see me and hear, But don't worry, that's what I can bring for the channel, is that I will be the one you can put on right before bed and you will fall asleep instantly. Well, maybe not instantly, maybe about 2 minutes into the video, after you hear enough of my voice and just hear the white noise. That being said, I am also a very positive person. I like to think that I don't like to bring negativity into a lot of places, and I apologize if I have done that to anyone, but I really try not to. And so what I can bring is positive takes on books or series that I'm reading and enjoying, and hopefully share some of that positivity with you. That doesn't mean I'll love every book I read or, like, think it's the best book ever with each book that I read, but I will try to spin it in a positive light and find the good points into it, because I honestly feel like every book deserves to be read. The authors have put in so much time and effort into creating a world for us, into creating something magical, no matter the genre. It's a lot of work. And I can honestly say that every book has a reader out there somewhere. Might not be me, but it could be you. And so I encourage you to pick up those books and keep reading, because they are works of art. They are truly magical, and it's what's brought us here today. It's what's brought us together. It's why you know who I am. Otherwise, I'd just be the weird guy sitting in the corner of a basketball court just reading a book. And we'd never talk to each other because it's just kind of who we are. But books are what has created this magical part known as Booktube on YouTube, and what has brought us into the community of Discord and other social media to talk about something that we are passionate about and truly love. And to me, that is incredible. My plans for the channel: I'll bring you book reviews. I'll let you know what I'm reading, what I have read. We'll see what else we can do. So now I guess is as good a time as any to ask you guys, like, what do you want to see from me? What would you want to see different? Like anything that you'd like to see personally from me, and I'll see what I can do. I can't promise you anything. This video has taken quite a while because I have found I'm not great at recording. I am not great at editing, but I will get better, and I'm willing to give it a try. So my plans for the channel, that's about it. But what do I like to read? I like to think that I read a wide variety of books. It's not just one genre, one type, one style. I enjoy a variety of different things, but we'll go through the three main styles of books that I read, which would be, starting off, to no one's surprise, fantasy. And maybe you saw the short where I talked about what really got me into the fantasy genre, and that is The Pawn of Prophecy. It's the one that started it all for me, really introduced me into a magical world. I'd read others. I had read young adult fantasy growing up. Black and Blue Magic, I remember being one, where a kid buys a spray from a stranger and grows wings. That was really funny. Half Magic is another one that always made me laugh. As well as the Chronicles of Narnia. All of those were great reads for me. I enjoyed them, but I was still not sure of what I really liked. I tried a variety of different genres and things like that. And then somebody saw me reading, I don't know which one they saw me, but I was reading at a gym where my dad was the head basketball coach, and he recommended to my parents a couple of different books, and he loaned to them so that I could read them The Pawn of Prophecy, which is book 1, and I loved it. It was the first time that I really remember connecting with a character and the world and the magic system in a way that was uniquely different. The will and the word introduced to me that magic can be something unique and different. The will and the word was the first time that I really remember magic having a strict set of rules and that there were consequences. It wasn't just, oh, and he created a fireball and blew all the enemies away. It was structured, and it just blew me away. And the only issue that I had with book 1 is that, honestly, the Belgariad, if you guys haven't read it, it's broken into 5 books, but it's really one book, and each book is kind of a part. And it ended on a cliffhanger, and I immediately had to beg to get book 2. And I remember it was a big search for the final book. But I loved it. I then started reading everything David Eddings, and then I launched into my love of fantasy. Other genres that I enjoy are the sci-fi genre. I credit this to Star Wars because it was the first film that I'd watch every day if I could. I just loved that type of thing in the future. So, but I honestly see sci-fi and fantasy being very different. Fantasy being more in the past with swords and magic, and sci-fi being in the future with magic. So very similar. I know a lot of you have very similar interests to those. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be watching me stare blankly at a camera screen. Those are my probably top 2 most read genres. But the other one that I can say is thriller or mystery. This one I also remember being introduced to in The Bourne Identity by Robert Ludlum. It is nothing like the movie. Don't get me started on that. I can't think of the Bourne Identity movies as being the Bourne Identity. They're great action films, but it's not the Bourne Identity. I loved the spy assassin type of story that was being told in it, and just the fact that he created this persona to hunt down a real assassin right at the beginning of the book and loses and starts this whole adventure is what I will say. And I loved it. I was also shocked at the body count in that book, because it is really heart-pounding action through the whole thing, and that's what I discovered. I like action scenes. Don't get me wrong, I like the political building, I like world building, and I understand and realize that there's a very big importance, but nothing really gets my excitement level up like a well thought out, brutal action scene. Whether it's one-on-one, full-scale battles, whatever it may be. But The Bourne Identity was the first one, and I remember his gunfight in the cemetery I couldn't get enough of it. I think I reread that part like 4 times because it was so good. So if you watch this channel, it's not strictly going to be just sci-fi and fantasy, but I will throw out recs and talk about the thrillers I'm reading, because I still read them. I still love the mysteries, detectives, spies, assassins, that type of thing. And I will bring some of those books to your attention as well as give you my thoughts and reviews on those. So hopefully you're interested in them. If not, that's okay. I will still give you plenty of fantasy and sci-fi recs as well. But why do I like to read? I think it's fairly obvious that I love that escape from the real world into these imaginary worlds. But I've always just found an enjoyment. It's calm, it's relaxing to me. It allows my mind to focus on something other than the million different thoughts that I might have racing around my head. I always had to read before I went to sleep. My mom would always tell me it was bedtime, and I remember she always wanted my light off, but I said I was scared of the dark, so she'd put a nightlight in there. My room was in the basement, so it got really dark. That wasn't the real reason. I then would get out of my bed and go sit next to the wall where the nightlight was and try to read with that very small light. And then my mom said that I would ruin my eyes. And so then she was like, as long as you get up on time, I don't care what you do, basically. You can read as long as you want. And they bought me a reading lamp. And from then on, I'd read every night before bed. And it's just become a habit at this point. I love my books. I can't get enough of them. I want to read them all. Unfortunately, as many of you know, you can't. My TBR continues to grow. I look at the numbers and I'm like, oh, I had a fantastic reading month, because I can read about anywhere from 8 to 10 is my average, but I have been reading about 15 books per month so far this year. Granted, I know we're at the beginning of April. It's only been 3 months, but I'm still happy that I've read about 33 books at this point. I might make a video that talks about the books I read last month, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes and see if I can actually get a video posted to YouTube. If not, this is just me talking to myself, and it'll never see the light of day. But yeah, that's me. That's Jordan. That's what I like to read. That's why I started the channel. I'm pretty basic. I don't have deep, dark secrets, deep, dark meaning as to why I created it. But I thought it would be fun, different challenge for me. But at this point, I would like to give you guys a token of my gratitude. I've said it multiple times. my first video that I ever uploaded was just a thank you, because I created a channel name, and the explosion of people that just subscribed was overwhelming to me. You really have no idea how good it made me feel. The warm, tingly feeling inside, just that I have friends such as you. And that's how I see us. Whether I know you or not, I'd love to get to know you, but I see you guys as friends. And I'm excited to talk about books with friends. But I'd also like to give a special thank you to the authors that may be watching this channel or stumble across me. Thank you for your works of art. I am incredibly grateful for what you have done and the hard work that you put in. I know sometimes it might seem unfair that we as readers can read a book in not even a fraction of the time. Probably wouldn't even register on your chart of how long it took you to create those worlds. And then we talk about it and we get it super excited, but then we're on to the next one. And I know it might not seem fair. You want us to keep talking about that same book over and over and over and over again, hype it up. And I promise you I do. I do it all the time where people might not know or might not see. But there are so many books. But I wanted to give this is my personal thank you to each of you as an author, and say thank you. Your works are appreciated, whether I've read them or not. Like, just knowing that you created something is an incredible feat, and you should take that pride, that honor, and continue doing so. There are many of us as readers, booktubers, whatever you want to call us, and we do appreciate it. But anyway, hopefully you give me a like. Maybe you'll subscribe. Hopefully you continue watching. Just in the fact that maybe I'll put your child to sleep for you, maybe put yourself to sleep. We'll find out. But thank you for coming and joining me in the middle of nowhere. And always, happy reading and stay great.